sleep on the couch and you play with puppets all day.
What more do you want from me?
I want to know that you're okay.
Then why haven't you called in 10 years?
You don't think I wanted to?
Well, 2 down, 3 to go. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk and we're here to talk to you about Starverses, or more specifically, Eclipsa's monster love, Globgor, or the Prince of Darkness, or the Plucker of Limbs, or the Crusher of Skulls, or Baba. Dude beats out Daenerys Targaryen in terms of titles. Sucks he was a huge letdown. One problem I think we all agree on was this show was obsessed with shipping. After a certain point, the show felt less like a story and more like Vampire Diaries in cartoon form. Odd. I felt like Vampire Diaries did shipping much better, even if their ships make me question things much more. Yeah, the plot was engaging until the Michelsons got their own show. Wait, I'm getting off track. Despite all the problems with shipping, there were still some solid, stable couples. We had Moon and River, proving that opposites do attract. Penelope and Slime, showing a monster and a royal could have a romance. Then there's Eclipsa and Globgor. Despite all the problems you could name with Eclipsa, her saving grace was her marriage to Globgor. Wait, were they even married, or was it just a spiritual union? Their relationship is healthy, compelling, and when he's on screen, he acts as Eclipsa's conscience. He's total husband material. Ultimately, this video will be less about their ship and more about Globgor as a character, since I have some major problems with how he was handled. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. 300 years ago, the Mumin monster war waged on, with Solaria leading the Mumin forces. At first, Solaria was just trying to get the monsters off Mumin land, i.e. the land her mother stole from them. But as time went on, she wanted all monsters dead and buried, earning the title of Monster Carver. Eventually, Solaria had a daughter named Eclipsa, who, in short, was nothing like her mother. Eclipsa was precocious, using secret tunnels to leave Butterfly Castle and explore the kingdom. Solaria never really minded, as Eclipsa would always be back in time for dinner. On these outings, Eclipsa became acquainted with the monsters, dating several, and ultimately developing a tolerance for them. Unlike her mother, she yearned for peace and wanted no part in the war. Dang it, Solaria, that girl ain't right. As a child, Eclipsa met a monster named Globgor. Globgor was a size shifter, which explains why, when they're grown-ups, he never crushed Eclipsa when they made the Warnicorn with 2 backs.
How is that possible? Well, when a queen and a monster love each other very much.
Their pair would often play a game where they would leave notes for the other person to find. Sometimes they would meet at Butterfly Castle, in secret in the Rose Garden.
I used to visit this garden a lot. Oh, have you been to the Rose Tower? The view of the garden is absolutely divine.
Oh, no. That's been condemned for forever.
Oh, I see what you did there. During one such meeting, Solaria found the two playing, and she assumed Eclipsa was being attacked. Solaria nearly killed him, and when they got home, Eclipsa cried for the rest of the night. As teenagers, Globgor and Eclipsa began a romance that lasted for a good many years. However, there was a problem. Globgor wasn't just a monster, he was a human eater.
I used to get so many rubies stuck in my teeth. If I kept eating those miners, I'd be rich.
Yes, I know I said in a previous video he was a cannibal. Hey, proofreading only gets you so far. Sometimes I don't know I made a mistake until I'm recording. Or worse, when I'm editing and it's too late to fix it. And speaking of human eater, that could explain some things.
Oh yeah, she totally used to eat babies!
To Globgor, they were like chicken nuggets. With Eclipsa's help, Globgor became a vegetarian. Despite the occasional dark joke, he's mostly stuck to this diet.
You are a very good vegetarian.
Yeah, well, it took me a while to get the hang of it.
Wow. I couldn't imagine how much that must have sucked. He really was born in the wrong century. I mean, nowadays we have Impossible Burgers. Even after Eclipsa wed Shastacan, the two were still together, and she and her human husband didn't really love each other and agreed to live separate lives. While Eclipsa became Queen of Muni, Globgor became King of the Monsters, or the Prince of Darkness. So if you're wondering, that's why Eclipsa is called the Queen of Darkness. It's not just because she dabbled in dark magic. A combination of the war getting to be too much to handle and Shastacan confessing he had grown to love Eclipsa caused her to run away with Globgor, leaving behind the Book of Spells and the Wand. The Magic High Commission conducted a raid and imprisoned Eclipsa and Globgor and hid their daughter, Meteora, giving the crown to a peasant baby they named Festivia. Wow, that was a lot to take in. After Eclipsa is freed, the question of Globgor is never really brought up. We all assume he's long dead.
Isn't that right?
Globgor!
But Romulus does make some interesting comments.
It's not just a fun place to throw parties. It's, well, I'm not even authorized to tell you what it is. That's how bad it is. I totally know what it is. It's... Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In artwork, he's depicted as a savage brute. Trigon if he went through a magic Mike phase, but that means nothing. Look at Eclipsa's tapestry, and we all know at worst she's just super selfish. Then we get Conquer. After the kingdom is saved, Star gives Eclipsa her wand back, and her crown. Eclipsa, with her power returned, goes to the Monster Temple, specifically the one from Monster Bash.
Hello, my love. We're home.
You got some splaining to do!
Wait, isn't this the one Ludo stayed at?
And I suppose it's just a coincidence that you've taken up shelter here, in this ancient monster temple.
I'm supposed to know that?
And wait, can we back up a little bit more?
We have other plans.
Aw, you got a hot date?
Something like that.
Did Eclipsa say this in relation to the Commission and Moon? Or after she got all cut up, was she gonna try to find Globgor and free him herself? Ultimately, there is little Eclipsa can do for him, beyond scrub his teeth, as crystals are nigh impossible to break, and Romulus refuses to release Globgor, but she keeps on trying, during one excursion, stealing Romulus's body, to do it herself, and then Star tells her she basically crossed a line.
Can't just take someone else's body like this! It's gross! Ugh! How is anyone supposed to trust you if you use spells like that?
And for that, Globgor gets to be even more imprisoned.
Oh, I almost forgot. He's never getting out of that crystal.
Basically, for the most part, Globgor plays very little role beyond acting as fancy furniture. He's a sword of Damocles, but you and I both know somebody's gonna be cutting the thread, and when they do, a storm of blood will fall upon all of Uni. In The Monster and the Queen, we finally meet Globgor, and he is...
Oh, no, wait. I'm taking you to a secret place.
a perfectly well-adjusted dude who makes dad jokes and loves Eclipsa more than life itself. Seriously, their moments together are so adorable. It is so hard to believe this man used to be a savage warlord who ate people. Seriously, I thought he was gonna be a savage brute, but they make the point he has a soft spot for Eclipsa. I really wasn't expecting that voice. The episode, at first, seems like a flashback, but there are hints here and there something's off. For example, there's no people, despite Globgor's constant mention of miners.
It's so peaceful out today. No unsuspecting fishermen, no beefy loggers. I don't even hear any miners.
And for some reason, he seems to be wearing clothes. He looks kinda spiffy. Then we meet one of Globgor's childhood icons, Banana Hat Muscle Whale.
Banana Hat Muscle Whale was unprepared for the enchanted scatlings that Rygax mind-controlled to do his bidding, leaving Lord Rygax to run the kingdom into darkness forever.
I am not making this up.
Are we in my mind? Right now?
Yes.
Oh, that's creepy, boo.
Favorite line in the whole episode. In truth, everything you just witnessed took place in Globgor's mind. It's one of Solaria's spells. Ironic, I know.
My mother created a spell that'll break your crystal. All that's left is for me to pull the ribbon from the beak of this rooster to make it crow.
Which I have questions about. If Eclipsa has the power to enter somebody's mind, why doesn't she just enter Globgor's whenever she wants? They would still be together, just not physically. Was she worried about what Star would say? Plus, this could have built up the conscience thing I mentioned earlier. When Globgor learns the truth, he doesn't want to be free, considering how the kingdom won't accept a monster.
Don't the humans still hate me?
You're controversial.
Even if the people let me come back, they'd just be waiting for me to mess up.
And I might sound terrible for saying this, but I can totally see why. Globgor, king of monsters or not, was the human version of Khal Drogo. I mean, if Khal Drogo ate people, of course. They're not dealing with somebody like Buffrog. Even if he reformed, it doesn't change what he did, or the fear that he could fall off the wagon and then go eat an orphanage. Plus, would monsters even accept him? He is a relic from centuries ago. I said it in my Eclipsa video, but it was always weird to me how, if Eclipsa was so obsessed with PR, why not tell people Globgor was a mutant eater, but I helped him? Or we were falsely imprisoned. Nobody knows the truth. Of course they don't accept her. So reluctantly, Eclipsa lets her husband stay in prison until the kingdom is ready for him, which she knows might never happen. One speech from Star, I overanalyze, and Eclipsa leaves him to be. In coronation, the titular ceremony is about to be underway, but Star returns to the temple to find Pay attention to the rooster. Yeah, everybody thinks Eclipsa did it, but we know that the rooster is the key to freeing him, so she isn't responsible. And to get it out of the way, it's Romulus. Eclipsa tries to cancel the ceremony and lock down the villagers. The commission takes over, and like usual, force their beliefs on everybody. Sora goes to track down Globgor and finds that he doesn't wish to cause any harm.
I said stay away from me. I'm just trying to protect my wife and child.
So you're not gonna hurt anyone?
What? No, of course not.
I kind of like Globgor in this scene. I'll be honest, I hate when they do the voice deepening thing. It's distracting, like with Meteora,
You set me up!
or it's clear they aren't being consistent, like with Mina.
But you're letting them off too easy.
As was the case with Goldilocks, this was just right. Star convinces Globgor to go with her, and it's the only way to save his family, and Globgor tries to do the right thing. So he returns, deciding to surrender himself in exchange for Eclipsa and Meteora.
My darkest star.
You! But Romulus has to act like a 4-letter D word and ruin the happy moment.
Okay, that's enough. Back to the crystal for you.
This leads into a full-on battle between Globgor and the Commission, where he takes whatever they dish at him, and then some. And keep in mind, he's holding back. So yeah, total Chad move. Meteora, seeing her father for the first time in centuries, dips down and tries to approach him. The audience, human and monster, panic, since regardless of her heritage, Meteora is still a defenseless baby.
Yeah, that's right. It's Baba.
Aww. This isn't enough for Globgor, who tells the audience he wishes to go back into stasis.
Over my dead body! That man was willing to stay in the crystal to keep his family safe. He's a dad.
Did Moon just mentally clock out here? Even your own husband vouched for the guy. The humans, at long last, accept Eclipsa, by extension, her family, and reject the Magic High Commission. And the episode ends with everybody celebrating. So, what's the problem? Well, for the most part, while he's arguably a cool character, Globgor is also a pretty useless one. Sure, he played a big role in Coronation, but he does nothing major for the rest of the show, before or after. His only role is to act as a living plot device. A plot device for Eclipsa to keep going, and to steer her towards the dark side. A plot device for Star to be wary of Eclipsa giving in. A plot device for Moon to stop trusting Eclipsa. He isn't a character. Replace Globgor with, I don't know, a sexy lamp, and the story would be the exact same. Unfortunately, that's not all. He fails for other reasons. Recall all the development I told you about Globgor and Eclipsa. Their childhoods, their romance, their etceteras. Great, right? Well, most of it comes from outside sources, like the Book of Spells or Reddit. Without that prior knowledge, you'd mostly be lost.
You thought leeks were the same as leeches.
I mean, they still sound the same. I mean, leaks, leech, leaks.
I wish they animated that. Imagine how hilarious it would have been. Unlike the rest of his family or in-laws, there's never any depth to Globgor as a character. In some regard, he feels like a shallow Mary Sue. And despite it being a pretty name, I hate using that term. But the more you think about it, what flaw does he really have beyond making dad jokes and being super cautious? There's never any character to him because it all took place off screen hundreds of years ago. Compare him to, say, Rose Quartz, who never appears in the flesh. We still feel her presence from beyond the grave. Eclipsa was a great character because there was more to her than meets the eye. Even if she wasn't a villain, she still makes mistakes. We get where she's coming from, and it's complicated and messy. With Meteora, while her goal was arguably justified, her methods were not. So while to some degree you likely wanted her to succeed, you also wanted to give her a hug, hopefully without having your soul stolen. During the times where they could have given Globgor development, the crew never took it. In one episode, Star has to entertain the spider bites because Eclipsa lost track of time. During the dinner, it seems like they're racist a-holes, only for Queen Spiderbite to reveal they're tolerant of monsters. They just don't like one monster in specific.
We have no problem with monsters. Our problem is with Globgor. How can you live in this castle and ignore his atrocities?
Because again, regardless of how much he's changed, he still attacks Spiderbite Village and ate Shastacan.
And that dance you showed us is a tribute to Globgor eating my great-great-grand-uncle Shastacan.
Think you left out a few greats?
All of the traditional things Star was showing them was praising Globgor's murderous exploits, like the cups or the portraits.
The dance of death! You performed the dance of death!
I
didn't know there was a dance of death.
Actually, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense that Shastacan was chosen to wed Eclipsa. The spider bites look the most like humans. They aren't passing, and she probably said something like, if you marry my daughter, I'll make sure the king of monsters doesn't invade. But him meeting Shastacan makes no sense logistically. Exactly how did they take Meteora? And why did they take her and not her parents? Did they wait when nobody was looking and use one of those giant Muppet canes? Eclipsa does say there's more to the story, but while she confirms Globgor ate Shastacan, she never elaborates why.
Truth is a little more complex than that, but yes, he did.
If you want to make it up to the spider bites and be honest with them, why not tell them exactly what happened? Like, I'm sure if you said he kidnapped our daughter and wouldn't give her back, they would be keen to listen. Plus, it would have given Globgor more of a backbone. He spent all the time trying to improve for the woman he loved, and in a moment of desperation, he regressed. He pillaged and plundered her family's estate, and then he devoured her husband, which regardless of whether or not she loved him, that was still her husband. Lobby, oh could you? You likely did this all in the name of his daughter, but imagine how he must have felt afterwards. Or here's a thought, why not show the story? Showing is much better than telling. Once again, he's nothing but a plot device.
I'd like to show you something.
Thank you for showing us this, Eclipsa. I feel a little more at ease now.
Yes, he's basically dead.
Oh, Eclipsa, your lamp is in a box, unopened, and you're not gonna take it out? Good for you. We'll be forever friends. Then there's the problem of him coming into the show way too late. After he enters the story, Star is already leaving Muni, and when she comes back, he's mortally wounded, because let's be honest, if he fought Mina, she'd be dust in the wind. That one Solarian soldier got lucky. After he gets wounded, he does nothing but lie in a bed. He's just there to guilt Eclipsa.
I'll heal Globgor at the Magic Sanctuary, and you and your family will be free to live in any dimension of your choosing. Except this one.
Let me translate. Eclipsa, I promise you, if you hand over the crown and the wand and leave Muni forever, I'll go down to Walgreens myself and buy you a new light bulb. In fact, I'll buy you a dozen, but only the store kind, no name brands. And later, he's nothing but a motivation for Eclipsa to go back to Muni.
Hekapoo, give me the scissors.
Wait, what are you doing? Globgor needs my help.
Translation, Moon, I gotta go back to Muni. My lamp is gonna explode in a couple of hours. I bought it on Amazon, but I don't have Prime membership, so it's very expensive. So we should go now. There is a little mini subplot of River and Eddie trying to get him to the Magic Sanctuary, but this goes nowhere. Mina gets there before they do. They could have just leapt in the die, and the story would be the exact same. Wouldn't it be cool if they succeeded? And Globgor, now healed, went to help his wife and daughter, and in the process, kicked Mina's butt? Or if he met his mother-in-law, and she accepted not just her granddaughter, but her son-in-law? We never have an episode about Globgor. We have the Neverstone episode with Meteora, but never anything with him. I say this with most of my videos, but we really needed a flashback episode. Or flashbacks. The moments between Eclipsa and Globgor were great, it just sucks we never got to see more of them. Or we're not having tell Star how they met, or what made him change his ways, or stuff like that. There's also the matter of, he's king of Muni, but unlike the previous candidates, he at least has leadership experience. Would he take a back seat for his wife? What if in a rewrite, Moon attacked Eclipsa because of Globgor? Not only because of what she saw in Moon Remembers, but maybe for something he did when Star wasn't there. Eclipsa only stopped herself because Star was constantly around to scold her. Globgor might not be the same way. Perhaps because her husband is back and the mutants accept him, Eclipsa thinks to add new reforms. And Globgor, wanting the same, helps her. Or Eclipsa lets him rule the monsters, so he's the one who makes all those changes. As now, he has actual power. Only, either or, are changing way too much, way too soon. The mutants might be willing to accept a monster as king, but hey, that might be as far as they'll go. There's also the fact that I found it weird they never used him for other kinds of commentaries. It's more of a nitpick, but I found it odd how no monster really disapproved of their relationship, outside of possibly Toffee and Seth. I guess we really didn't need this, but hey, the conflict wouldn't have seemed so one-sided. And that was Globgor. Despite much of what I said, I do love his character. He's entertaining, and I love his voice. It's just that I wish he did more. Every single time he was on screen, it really felt like the crew was saying, look, we hired that guy from that show on CW. Oh well, guess we can't have everything.